There are three myths that a lot of real estate professionals believe about surveying, boundary surveying in particular. And so what I want to do in this video is tell you what those three myths are and then kind of debunk the myths, give you the facts. So this is kind of a myth. This is Landon's version of of Survey Mythbusters, I guess. And this video is not intended to be critical in any way of real estate professionals. Real estate is very complicated. That's why there's so many different specialties, and it's hard to understand the nuances of the other specialties in real estate. It's one thing I try and do is learn as much as I can about other specialties in real estate, because I think it makes me a better surveyor. But there are certainly many surveyors, maybe even most surveyors, that do not do that. So this isn't intended to be critical. It's intended to be educational, and I want to help other people, appraisers, brokers, real estate agents, title folks, land title folks, understand the facts that dispel these three myths, because it'll help them to do a better job. So what's the first myth? Myth number one. And you probably see me squinting at my clipboard a little bit here. I forgot my glasses, so forgive me for that. Okay, so here's myth number one. Most parcels have been recently surveyed. So most people just assume that land is surveyed regularly. They think the tax assessor map is a survey, or they just assume a property's surveyed every time it's sold or every time a loan's taken out. That is not true. That is a myth. So here's some facts. 60% of parcels were created by deed or modified by deed, and they have never been surveyed on the ground. So about 60%, those aren't exact numbers, but roughly 60%, so more than half of the parcels that we see here at Redefined Horizons have never been surveyed. So they've never been put on the ground. Typically, when you get into a rural area, that number goes up. Also, when you get into older parts of town, older parts of like a downtown, that number also goes up. Second fact, 90% of the parcels that we see haven't been surveyed in the last 50 years. So about 60% have never been surveyed. There's another 30% of those parcels that have had a survey, but it's been 50 years or more. We frequently see parts of Central California where the parcel hasn't been surveyed in 100 years. I just looked at a parcel the other day that hadn't been surveyed in 112 years. That was in South Stockton. So almost all parcels, 9 out of 10, have either never had a survey or haven't been surveyed in 50 years. And then 99% of parcels haven't been surveyed in the last 5 years. So almost nothing we look at here at Redefined Horizons in Central California has been surveyed in the last 5 years. And you might say, well, why is that important? Well, it's important because the statutory period for unwritten rights in California is 5 years. So that means if somebody has started to occupy or use your land in the last 5 years, and there hasn't been a survey, they could begin to acquire rights to your property, legal rights. That's called squatters' rights sometimes. So it's important, if a property hasn't been surveyed in the last 5 years, to get a survey so you can make sure that those unauthorized uses, potential uses by your neighbor or encroachments by your neighbor, aren't going to develop into unwritten rights. And then another fact, 95% of the parcels we look at are missing one or more of their property corner monuments. So even if they have been surveyed recently, let's say the last 10 or 20 years, a lot of times they're missing monuments. Monuments get destroyed a lot with construction, road improvements, and so that's a problem because when the monuments are gone, it's easy for encroachments to develop. Okay, so there you go. Myth number one. Most properties have been recently surveyed. Just not true. In fact, probably only 1% of the parcels that we look at have been surveyed in the last 5 years. That number might even be smaller than 1%. So chances are, if you're buying a piece of property, you probably need a survey. Myth number two, all surveys are the same and they should cost about $300 to $500. Can't tell you how many times I've had a real estate professional call here and say, hey, I need a survey. They told me it'd be about $500. Okay, so a couple things here, a couple facts. Fact number one, each parcel of land is unique, and so is each boundary survey. So there is no such thing as a standard price for a boundary survey. I tell people all the time to say, how much is it to get my property surveyed? I tell people that's like calling the mechanic and saying, my car's making a really bad noise. How much to get it fixed? Well, your mechanic can't tell you that. What he's going to tell you is, bring your car down here, let me listen to it, let me look at it, and then I'll give you an idea of what I think's wrong, and we can figure out how much it's going to cost to fix. Same thing with the survey. Every parcel is a little bit different. And I've got some other videos that talk about that. Talk about what influences the cost of a survey. The other thing you want to remember, there's bad surveyors and good surveyors. There's surveyors that'll cut corners. There's surveyors that will not do things properly. And so, yeah, they'll give you a cheaper price, but you're going to get what you pay for. Another fact is that an excellent survey, boundary survey, costs thousands of dollars, not hundreds of dollars. If somebody's selling you a boundary survey for hundreds of dollars, there's a problem, at least if you're in California. And you need to ask some hard questions. So, can you get a survey for $300 to $500, a good boundary survey? The answer is no, you can't. If you're paying $300 to $500, you are not getting a boundary survey, you're getting something else. And it might be more dangerous than it is helpful. So, you should remember that. All right, here's myth number 3. This is the third myth that real estate professionals believe about surveys, and that is that a survey isn't needed if title insurance is purchased. I hear that frequently. I just had somebody tell me that a couple weeks ago. Oh, we didn't think we needed a survey because we bought title insurance. So that is not true. That is a myth. Title insurance is very important, and you want to buy title insurance, but that does not, just because you buy title insurance doesn't mean you don't need a survey. So here's the facts. Fact number 1. Title insurance almost always excludes from insurance coverage elements that would be revealed by a survey. So your title insurance policy specifically includes things that you would find out on a survey. So you need to get a survey. Fact number 2, landowners and lenders regularly sue title insurance companies for denying claims. So there's disagreements about coverage all the time, and frequently those disagreements about coverage are or involve matters that could have been revealed by a survey. So don't just think that because you got title insurance that you've got bulletproof coverage and any problem you have with the parcel is going to be covered. That's usually not the case. Title insurance is a very specific product. It functions very well for the risks it's intended to insure. It does not function well for risks it's not entitled to insure. So it's like not having insurance on your house burns down, and then thinking that your car insurance policy is going to cover your house. That isn't going to happen. And title insurance isn't going to cover you for a problem that you could have fixed with a survey. And another fact, title insurance often excludes anything that could be discovered by a physical inspection of the parcel. That's typically another exclusion. And a physical inspection, folks, includes having a surveyor on the ground. So, for example, if there's a building encroachment or an unauthorized utility running under the parcel, or there's an unauthorized road on the parcel, all of those things could have been discovered by a physical inspection of the property or a survey. It's probably not covered by your title insurance. That doesn't mean your title insurance won't cover it under a claim, but they might not, they probably don't have to if they choose not to. So there you go. Those are the 3 myths. Just to review, those 3 myths. Most property has been recently surveyed. Not true. Most surveys should cost $300 to $500. Not true. I don't need a survey because I have title insurance. Not true. So know the facts, know the truth, be smart. If you're going to invest in property or buy property for a business, or you're going to develop property, get a survey.